afternoon.
Good
You got a lot
afternoon.
of books in there. You got the Legacy of Haigsville in there?
Oh, that's just the background screen.
Oh, because I'm gonna send you one of my books now. Come on, I'll give you
Send me, sending.
the story of the early 2000s in historical fiction.
So first of all, thank you for coming to speak to me. I really do appreciate that. So you'll
Oh,
be the
thank you.
third mayoral candidate that I have interviewed. So pretty much, I just want to start off with you introducing yourself and what you're
Okay.
about to the people who don't know you.
Okay. So I'm Bill O'Day. I've been a county commissioner for 27 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Jersey City, and back in the early 2000s, I was doing some initiatives that were progressive before anyone used the term progressive, like the second living wage law in any county in the United States. So, born and bred in Jersey City, educated in Jersey City, lived first by Journal Square. And when I was 13, I moved to the west side near Lincoln Park, which is a county park, which I'm proud of. And I've lived within 5 blocks of Lincoln Park for the last 50 years of my life.
So what I can tell you is this: I haven't heard from a lot of the candidates as far as the people speaking on their behalf of what they've done for the city, but I've heard two people names
Right.
a lot of time. I heard Jim McGreevy and Bill
Yeah.
Odia. A lot of people
Yeah.
have been DMing me,
Yeah.
telling me how
Yeah.
much you've done for them and how long you have been doing it. So I give you a lot of points to that, a
Yep.
lot of credit for that. It's seriously a lot of people out of
Thank you.
nowhere telling
Thank
me
you.
how much you've done for the city and for them and
Yeah.
helped them
No,
out.
I I love helping people. I think public service is about helping people, and like literally right now in my headquarters, there's a young man that's living there because we
Wow.
were able to get him in a hotel for a long period of time, and then the period ran out, and I wasn't going to let him live on the streets, so we got him one of those inflatable mattresses, and we got a refrigerator, and when we're there at our meeting tomorrow morning, he'll be there. So there's nothing. I was somebody just raised to believe that I'm blessed and I need to give back and just help people. I love helping people. We started a program 11 years ago called Project Impact, which is increasing minority participation, access to construction trades, and like some of the success stories of those young men and women of color, like they move me, like they changed their lives, and I'll see them, and now they're there with their kids, and they're able to, get stuff for their kids, and they feel great because we help get them a career. So I just think that's what being a public official is all about.
A lot of respect for that. I have a question. So
Thank you.
it seems a bit consistent across the board with all the mayors. They seem like they're all agreeing on rent control. So we both know rent is getting very high in Jersey City, causing a lot of residents to move further to the south, and eventually they can't even afford over here and have
Yep.
to leave. So it seems that you all come
Yep.
to agree on the fact of coming at the house owners for illegally raising the rent so high. So this is my question to you. So I understand that, but I'm somebody, I feel like there has to be a bit fairness on both sides for the renter and the homeowner. We have to find some common ground because if you just do that, I feel like you're attacking homeowners and middle class. Here's why. I feel like they should be able to increase it, but to a certain percentage because it's hard if you're fighting that, but nobody's talking about property taxes. Property taxes in
True.
Jersey City are skyrocketing very high. So
Yep.
if you tell the homeowner, hey,
Yes.
you can't raise the rent at all, but we're going to raise your house taxes, they will suffer. But we also have to think about the residents. How do you navigate around
True.
that? Where do you find the common ground?
So I think there's two things. There's a homeowner, somebody who owns a two-family, three-family, four-family, and then there's a landlord who owns 40 or 50 units. Now, the landlord that owns 40 or 50 units, there's a process and an application um, for a rent increase above the 3.5%. when things like taxes go up and other expenses go up. So they're able to apply for it. It's called a hardship increase. So they're able to do it. What our concern with those larger buildings now, and some could have anywhere from 500 units, is that they've been illegally raising rents when a person moves out, eliminating affordable units. So, and we exposed this like a year and a half ago to the city, and then they finally took action, but they allowed this to go on for years. And shame on anyone within the government that turned a blind eye to it. We'd go into a 25 unit building and we'd ask people, "What's your rent?" $950. How long you live here? 20 years. What's your rent? 1,500. How long you lived here? 8 years. What's your rent? 2,300. How long you live here? A year and a half. So when those people moved out, they illegally raised those rents, and no one in the city was doing anything. They weren't even making sure that those landlords recorded rents like they were required to. So, like, I I was a councilman 39 years ago, and I was the sponsor. I didn't write it. We had a committee of tenants and community leaders that wrote the bones of what the current rent control law is, and it was strong to stop vacancy decontrol, and the city has just neglected it. So on that level, I just think we have to enforce the existing law. Hardship increases allow them to get a reasonable increase. Some landlords are literally forcing people out of properties. Like there's a property on Palisade that we got involved in where he had a vacant apartment. He put dead fish in it to drive the other people in the building out. Because if you get everyone to leave the building and you put a certain amount of money in, you can jack that rent up from 950 to 29 $3,000.
Absolutely.
That's a problem. That's a problem, and we've got to deal with that. Now, when you look at a one, two, three, four family home, yeah, I don't like right now. They don't have any rent control. So, what I would say if we're going to look at it, maybe I don't know, maybe 10% a year, right? So if you got a house with 3 or 4 units, and you live in it, and you're going to rent the other 3 units, and currently people are paying 1,500. Maybe you raise it 100 a year, 120 a year, and you got to be able to at least recoup, the property tax increase because you're only able to spread that out over a few units. You're not spreading it out over 40 or 50 units. So I think that's the separation and looking at, smaller properties. Um, the increase they should be allowed is going to be much more significant than somebody who's living in a apartment building that's got 40 units or more units. So it's a little bit of a balance, but you're right. I mean, you can't um, squeeze the small property owners so much that they won't make the economics work of keeping the property. So that's kind of where I see the balance. But right now, those smaller units don't have any rent control on it. And I think that as we look at potentially doing rent control on those that are not owner occupied, nobody's talking about someone who lives in a four-family house being able to be put under the same rent control laws that we have now. They're talking about non-owner occupied 3, 4 family houses. So I think we're conscious and sensitive to it. But the biggest thing are the abuses that are currently going on with properties that have been under rent control for decades, where landlords are literally illegally raising rents and forcing people out. They're
Yes,
gonna they're
yes,
forcing
yes.
they're forcing people out because they know if I force you out at 1,200, the next person's going to pay me 2,400 because the city's asleep at the switch in checking what the rents are. So that's where I think a lot of our focus has been on, not only in the campaign, but just as a county commissioner that's always there to help people. During the city council passed a right to counsel law, I think 2.5 years ago, but they had no money to pay for it. So what I was able to do in the county is appropriate like $1 million for the attorneys so that people would have a right to have representation. Because as you know, landlords can afford lawyers, but often tenants can't afford lawyers. So
Exactly. Thank you very much for clarifying that and letting us understand
no,
where
no
you
problem.
stand with that. So, another big thing that I really wanted to talk about is Greenville. You know, as mayors, your job is the whole entire Jersey City. I'm not a mayor,
Yes.
so I can be a bit more biased about who I currently care about. And that's currently the section of the city that I do care about. Greenville, it's where I live. You see how we're treated.
Yep.
So I just have
Second, clip. Which, We're treated second class citizens. I'm a South Side Jersey City guy too. I'm on
Worse,
West Side, but
worse.
we're not getting any better treatment. Trust me.
It's bad. So if you were to win this race, I have a question to you. What kind of programs and funding can you or are you willing to bring back to this neighborhood for the youth? You know, the youth is very, very important. Uh, Me, even you, it's somebody younger than us that's next up to take our spots. They are very important. So, can we
I got a
bring any
12-year
type of
old grandson sitting in
programs?
the back seat.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm just joking. I have a 12-year-old grandson sitting in the back seat of my car while I'm parked and doing the interview. Yeah. So first thing is free summer camps for kids. In all in at least six or eight throughout the city, especially on the south side of town. So as a commissioner, everybody's going to tell you what they're going to do. I like to tell you what I've already done. So when I first got elected to be a commissioner 27 years ago, there was a woman uh, a role model to me. Her name was Gloria Robinson. They actually renamed the A. Harry Moore housing site after her.
Wow.
And when I got in, she said, Bill, you know what? There's no summer camp for the kids that live on Duncan. So we started a summer camp. And then she told me, Bill, there's no playground for the kids that live on Duncan. They got to go all the way up to West Side and Harrison. And if you go to the park now, we've renamed that playground for Gloria, but there's a playground. It's actually an ADA playground. So this past summer in Lincoln Park, we had 4 summer camps, free. Every one of them free. Basketball, soccer, tennis, and we added a little volleyball camp. So we used to have free summer camps. They did away with them. I'm bringing them back day one. The city can put money into it, but guess what? I can go to the Goldman Sachs of the world and ask them to sponsor a camp. And the other thing I want to do along with that is I want to figure out how to bring more resources into existing camps and programs. So I work closely with Blessed, Black Law Enforcement Serving Community. In fact, right now I'm working with them to try to put a building that's going to have their offices, classrooms, and 18 units of low moderate income housing above it on MLK near Claremont. I want to give them more resources to be able to serve more youth. Same way I work very closely with the PAL off on Old Bergen Road. I want to bring them more resources to be able to serve more youth because government can do camps and programs, but also where we have good existing not-for-profits that are really passionate about helping young people. I just want to give them more resources to be able to do a better job and serve more youth. And some of it's just leveling the playing field on education, right? I was joking last night at a debate. When I went to St. Peter's Prep, I was upset because there were kids in my class that I knew that I was smarter than, but they got a higher SAT score. But you know why they did? Because their parents were able to afford to send them to Princeton Review, and my parents couldn't. So many years ago, I started a program at County Prep High School for our public school students to be able to take an SAT prep class during summer to help
Wow.
get their scores up. So programs like that are very, very important to me. I want to level the playing field. I know and understand, what it's like um, to not be somebody from wealth. I got my grandson in the back seat. His dad is not my biological son, but I met him when he was 4 years old, and I raised him. I coached him in basketball. I got him through school. If you met him today, he'd tell you, had he never met me, he'd probably be dead or in jail. So I've been very much affected. And God has sent things like that in my life. I think to help me improve and gain emotional intelligence. So the youth, it's all about the youth. If we fail our youth, then we fail ourselves. So a youth
Exactly.
development center in every ward at a minimum, and I want to start on the south side. We'll work our way north. So I want to do Greenville, and I want to do West Side and Bergen Lafayette, and we'll go to Journal Square, the Heights, downtown. Um, but I also want to have free summer camps for kids and open up more schools. Like, why isn't every school in the summer that has a pool open?
Exactly.
Right? It can't cost that much money. I think that the problem is the city and the board of ed for the last 12 years have been fighting each other, pointing fingers at each other, blaming each other for the tax increase. We can't afford that. We got to work together and we got to be partners. So I think that a lot of programs, from my perspective, have to be focused on youth, because if we don't help them, if we don't give them opportunities, what alternatives are going to get? The only alternatives they're going to have is to wind up getting themselves in trouble,
Exactly.
and that costs them more, and that costs us more. And I haven't talked about it. I don't talk about it a lot, but had a nephew. His name was Kyle Viali, um, and he got killed when he was in his 20s because
Wow.
he got involved with the wrong stuff. And it always bothered me, because I was in public service at the time,
Yeah.
that I failed him
Yeah.
for all the influence I may have had, for all the programs I wasn't able to help him. I think that's kind of how I got connected to Jonathan Perez when he was 4, and I joke he's definitely my son because he's 36 now, and guess what? I still pay a cell phone bill.
Wow.
So you know that, right?
Yeah.
That's a real commitment, right? At the age of
Yeah,
36.
it's a real commitment. So to be fair with you, this is what I
Yes.
told Musab Ali, and I told Solomon as well. Honestly, I said,
Yes. Yes.
it's that time of the year. Of course, you guys are gonna give me that big old smile, those good laughs, and tell me what I
Yep.
want to hear. It's politics. It's a nasty game. You guys are
Yeah.
always gonna tell me what I want to hear. Even you as well. I tell you all this at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I say now, I hope you're telling me the truth, but it could just be things I want to hear, right? So let's talk about this.
But
Affordable
one
house.
thing, just on that one point though, when I told you about creating free summer camps for kids, I told you I've already got them,
Oh,
right? And I've
absolutely.
already expanded them. I don't know what James and Musa said, but I'm not talking about what I'm going to
Gonna do.
do.
You
I'm
talking
going to
about
say, here's what I've done. Here's
absolutely.
how I did it. And I'm going to just take what I've done and move it over to the city, to city, parks or city buildings or schools for more kids. So that's the difference between them. And I like both of them. I have nothing bad to say about either one.
So
Affordable housing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
affordable.
interrupt
All
you.
good. All good. You have to put me in my place and tell me that's what you did, not what you're gonna do.
That's
Something
my
you
whole
already did.
slogan. Yep, yep, yep.
So affordable housing is very bad right now. So I have a few things to say about it and a few questions. So this
Yes.
is what we're seeing. I told Solomon we can start off. It's very rare, you know, you in your position, you said you helped get those things for the park. It's very rare that the city is gifting a park without an agenda. When you're dealing with money, people don't do stuff all the time to
Out of
be
the goodness of
nice.
their heart.
It's
Right. Out of the goodness
very
of their heart. Yep.
rare. It's very
Yes,
rare. It's
yes,
hard.
yes,
It's
yes.
always a big agenda at play. So we can talk
Yep.
about the Garfield Park. That was not put here for minority residents at all. Like I told Solomon, you put stuff in certain areas because you sell your surroundings. People don't necessarily sell the apartments. They say, "Hey, if we build this big beautiful park, we can build this beautiful apartment. We can raise the rents and say, "Hey, you should buy this apartment because you have this beautiful park a mile away from 5 minutes away from New York City and you have your beautiful restaurant."
Yep.
So, this is what I'm seeing in 16 street projects. They built a new park. For all of these years that the project
Right.
has been there, nobody has never wanted to do nothing for them. No
You're right.
park. But
You're right.
now all of a sudden a park is popping up. It's a clear
Yes.
indication that they are going to kick the minorities out, which they are going to do. They're going to get rid of the 16 projects. And also, when they put their luxury housing there and say there's affordable units, what's going on with the affordable units that they're using to kick out minorities, and then there's only about 5 to 10% affordable units, and on those 5 to 10% affordable units, it's not really affordable. For one, it's not really affordable. For two, they have lottery, which they're really giving to friends and family. The lottery is fake. And then for three, for the people who do get in on affordable housing, there's a lot of paperwork tricks where they wind up getting kicked out of the building. So what is going on? What's your stance on affordable housing? Is it really affordable? And what's your plans?
So I'm familiar with Holland Gardens, and I'm familiar with Wynn, who's the developer that was selected to do the housing there. And I would love to connect you with them and with the head of the housing authority to have the conversation that we're going to have now, but in more detail. So I don't disagree with you that in many instances, exactly what you just portrayed has happened and can happen. But I got to tell you, I don't think it's going to happen in Holland Gardens. I think that wind developers is different. They did the canal crossing project on Montgomery Street. They redid all those units. Those individuals almost all came back to those units. So I think that speaks for itself. They're committed to do that. But saying that, it's something you got to be cautious or careful about, because you're right. Because what individuals are given is a Section 8. And if they want to, they can take that Section 8 and go to South Carolina. And then while they still have to replace it with a unit that's going to be 30% to 40% area median income, I'm not going to speculate on how some of those lotteries work. I mean, I think as mayor, we got to get a handle on that. But I think that you're right. There are going to be market units in Highland Gardens, but there are also going to be more affordable units than there currently are there today. And why I'd love you to talk to Win is that I've told them that they need to let the residents, when they come back, have a stake in the building they live in, meaning a portion of their rent, like a co-op, should be money for them. That someday, when they want to retire and maybe buy a place somewhere, they got dollars they can take out to be able to go with them. So a lot of them don't work that way. But I was involved with the housing authority from the beginning of it because I was very sensitive to all the points you made. Because you're right, that park wasn't built because they were going to redo Highland Gardens. That park was done because of the wealth that was in that neighborhood and them being able to take advantage of it. But I want to make sure that everyone that's in Highland Gardens has that same right and has that same opportunity. So that's that example. Just to give you one, because you brought that up. From my perspective, I'm the only person running that's actually done and knows how to do these projects. I told you about Bless on MLK and Claremont, right? 18 units. I know the numbers. I know how the numbers work. I've worked with small affordable housing developers. I've worked with large affordable housing developers. The smaller ones are better. If you're going to do 18 units or 12 units and it's all affordable, I'd love to bring you to some of the buildings, not only in Jersey City, but obviously I run a not for profit that helps get affordable housing done based out of Elizabeth. Next Thursday, I'm going to be at the ribbon cutting of the YWCA, which developed transitional housing for women that are subject to domestic violence.
Oh
So I
wow.
know the space, I understand the space, I know how to negotiate and make sure that those affordable units are real affordable units. I've been talking to somebody, across from the hub, that big lot where all those Via vans park
Yes.
on. I want to take that lot. I want to put a school because we need a school in that neighborhood, probably K to 4, and then above it do residential. And those residentials are going to be nothing greater, nothing more expensive than workforce housing. And half of those units are going to be that 30 to 50% area median income. And that concept is going to be a co-op too. So people get a bit of their rent put into a fund that if they move or if they leave, they got some dollars that they can bring with. So the short of it is I know how to do it. I'm sensitive to everything you said because it's certainly subject to abuse. No, no doubt about it's subject potentially to be abused. I'm gonna give the council president a little shout out because she's missed most of the debates, but she was at the debate Tuesday, and she reminded me something from probably 11 years ago. They were doing a project downtown, and it was going to have 20% affordable. 10% of the units were going to be affordable for 10 years, and 10% of the units were going to be affordable for 20 years. And she looked me in the eye and she said, Bill, the ones that are going to be for 10 years are probably people you and I would know. The ones that are going to be 20 years are probably for the other people, meaning the kind of folks that you were talking about a little earlier.
So I have a very good question for you.
Okay.
And like I said, I asked all of you the same thing. we know that, in the city, obviously, there's a lot of bad people. There's a lot of bad things going on. We have a lot of homicide, a lot of rape, a lot of drug traffic, a lot
Yep.
of bad things. And Mr. Stephen Fulop, he likes to take a lot of those statistics, and this is what they do: they close them down and they hide them. Why do they do that? They cannot sell a city that is dangerous. They have to lie about
Sure.
criminal
Yep.
activity so they can get people to come in and invest. That is not good. Are you
Nope.
somebody who's willing to be honest and put out those statistics? It got to a point where a lot of the crimes weren't being reported or on statistics. We see them on Facebook.
Yep.
We
Yep.
live here. We're seeing them
Yeah.
with our own eyes. We know you're lying. They're lying on autopsies. It gets really deep and sick.
Scary. Yeah.
They're lying on
Yeah.
autopsies,
Yeah.
so it's not considered a homicide. So they have one less rate, one by one, and say the
You
city
got it.
got
You
safer
got it.
by
Yep.
10% less murders,
Right.
10% less rapes,
Right. Right.
and that's
Right.
not
Right.
the
Right.
case. What is your
Yep.
stance on that, and kind of giving
So,
access to the information of the
so
people to the city?
Comstat, all Comstat data needs to be made available to the public. If we mislead people and we miscategorize crimes, all we're doing ultimately is hurting ourselves because we're creating a false narrative, and that false narrative is going to catch up with us. So you've got to be honest with people. You got to let people know, because once everyone knows, then we can start to all come together and figure out how we address it. So I'm 100% committed. Comstat, all that data, people have a right to it. It needs to be made public. And as mayor, I'll review, not all, but I want to review some of the reports to make sure that somebody didn't create a armed robbery and call it a petty larceny, or somebody didn't take a rape and call it whatever, simple assault. Yeah, I mean, I'm self conscious of that, and you spoke about rape. The domestic violence problems in our city are off the charts.
That as
They're
well.
off they're off the charts, and they're underreported too. And our officers even need a little more training to even know how to understand how to assist people that are victims of it. And you know how it's gotten worse now? If you're here and you're not here legally, right? You may have overextended your work visa. You become a victim of domestic violence. You're not reporting it, because if you report it, you're subjecting yourself to be deported from the country. So
That's
there's
true.
scary things happening that, as mayor, as right now I'm sensitive to. As a commissioner, I have a duty and responsibility, but as mayor, I will be even more sensitive to it, and making sure that we do what we do to help the victims. Right, we got to help the victims of those offenses also. But yeah, we can't make believe things aren't happening. I saw a text message today. There was a stabbing downtown on Jersey,
Yes, I heard
Newark
about
and
that.
Jersey, Newark and Jersey. So it's not, we got a lot of most of the problems here on the south side, but the people that live down there, they better stop thinking they're living in the land of Shangri-La, because they got their own problems down there also.
So, right back to the crime. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. So, we know that it's a lot of drug traffic, and
Yep.
it's been many times where the police have found houses in Jersey City full of cash. We're talking millions. They found 9 million a few years ago in one of these
Wow.
houses. It's
Wow.
one thing we know. I'm not a sugarcoater guy. We know some of
All
those
right.
offers, some of those officers, they take some of that cash. If they want to do that, listen. If they want to take some of that cash, they found the stash. I don't even care. People are always gonna do some type of illegal stuff. I don't even care. But at least, is there any possible way we can get a percentage of that to go back into the community for good things and where it was found? If you're finding so much cash that you're gonna confiscate and give yourself a nice little bonus, you found 100,000. Can we get 50,000 and invest that back into community to point some of those kids that's around that in the right direction so they never go down that kind of path?
So the answer is yes, and it already happens. It may not happen to the degree that it can. And first, I got to tell you, I don't condone any officer taking a portion of the dollars they seize
They're gonna do it
because,
anyway. That's why I said
well, but
that.
I'm not going to condone it.
Of
And if
course.
anybody tells me, I'm going to call them out and they're going to get prosecuted because you start taking 10%, then 20%, then 30% before
Ye-
you know it. There's no percent to put back in the community. But the
Yep.
prosecutor's office has the ability to take those dollars and put them back into programs for our youth in our neighborhoods. And I would love to connect you with them. Jerry Walker. He's a colleague of mine. He's going to be a state assemblyman soon. Jerry had worked with the prior prosecutor on some programs to get some of those dollars reinvested. I'm going to call it. I'm not going to go online and say maybe as much as should be. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, as mayor, I'm gonna turn up the heat to make sure that we make sure more of those recovered dollars get back into programs that are existing programs in our not for profits in those neighborhoods. But the ability to do it already exists. It's a matter of just making sure that we do it and we do a better job of it.
Okay, so you're running for mayor. What's the three things that you're standing for? The three most important things that you want to accomplish, get done, or get better with that time.
Okay. So one, we talked about affordable housing. I've put out a real plan where I think over a 4-year period, I can create, and by create I mean complete construction or rehabilitation on 14 to 1,500 units of housing, and start construction or rehabilitation on 13 to 1,400 units of housing. So 2,800 new units, right, of affordable housing within a 4-year period. Some will be 20% in high rises. Some will be just new construction on vacant land, rehabilitation of existing lots. I'm the only candidate that's embracing rent receivership. Rent receivership lets us take over a building that a landlord is running down on purpose, take over management of it, put debt on it to fix up the building to make sure rent control stays in place. And if the landlord isn't happy with it and they walk away, we bring in somebody else to do that. And on projects in our community, I want local minority developers to do those projects. I don't need people coming here from other places. And on ones that are bigger, I want local minority contractors to be get a real percentage of the work done. We're working right now with Mark Wilson. He got a contract for $6 million project to build a center in Mercer Park,
Wow.
and we're working with him to make sure he's able to do it. He had to lay out for 8 to 6 million, and we're working to get him a line of credit through the government so he'll be able to float the cash flow he needs to get that job done. And we're going to also speed up. So create affordable housing units, retaining units through proper enforcement of the rent control law. I think that's one. With it is getting taxes under control, controlling the budget, getting rid of waste, but also making tough decisions. To become a police officer today, you get $43,000. To become a firefighter, you get $44,000. With our younger generation, there's not many people that are going to take the job. I'm being dead honest with you. It's hard to even like we pay 54,000 starting salary election office. We can't get election officers to take the job. So you got to be honest. We got to make changes in some places, raise starting salaries just to get anyone to that, especially people that really want to do those jobs. But we got to control the budget, bring in new revenue, and I'm willing to do a fair budget, not 1 year. Bring on a professional citizen review committee with local residents, but also experts in finance and efficiency of office and things like that. But the biggest piece of that is suing and fighting with our legislators. And I know Jerry's going to lead the fight to give us a fair allocation of state aid.
Hello.
$3 million a year they get in state aid. city of Jersey $148 million. If we just solve that problem alone, we're going to bring an additional 250 million in, help stabilize taxes, help improve our schools for some of the youth programs that we spoke about later. And then off of that, the third most important thing is getting our public safety department back to where it begins, taking police and fire separate departments, investing dollars to improve 911, get rid of those cars that sit on those corners on Bergen and MLK, and start patrolling and do community policing in neighborhoods, and just better address other issues like putting a de-escalation center for mental health on Oak Street and MLK. Those would be my three priorities.
So another big thing, there's so much building going on in Jersey City,
Yep.
and it's so funny. All these plans to do more, but if you come to the Greenville section, the roads are simply not
Yep.
drivable.
Yeah.
They're not
Yep.
drivable. They're not safe. If you drive a car, you're risking your car for being damaged and
Well.
thousands of
Yep.
dollars worth of fixing. If you ride a
Yep.
bike, it's a chance you're gonna fall. What are some
Yeah.
plans to get these things fixed? Because it seems though the city only cares about the Greenville section when there's an event. When they had the marathon, I
Yep.
watched these people in a span of 24 hours fix the streets for people who do not even live here. How do you all of a sudden have the money, time, and the manpower to get stuff done for non residents, but leave it messed up all year round for the ones who do live here?
So you made a great point, right? When the city wants to do something, they can do something. So we have to make sure that the city wants to do it all the time. When it comes to the roads, we just have to invest. We have to two things, right? Where there's projects being built, we need to make sure those developers or builders are giving money towards redoing the streets. Because let's be honest, on bigger projects, they're ripping the hell out of those streets with their heavy vehicles, with their construction vehicles, with what they're doing. If they're replacing pipe in the ground for their project, those things they have to help contribute to. But we also just need to float bonding, capital bonds either through the city or because our bond rating is low and our interest rates are high, maybe through the county improvement authority, we get a better rate on the bonds. We just need to invest in those streets. But here's what we have to make sure we don't do. The worst thing to do, and I've seen this too many times, we fix a street, we repay, people will respect you and understand it. But the more you hide, the worse it gets, and the harder it ever is once you lose trust to build trust up again. I mean, I think that I've been around for a long time, and I think that if you talk to people, I'm available, I'm accessible. People that come to the county commissioner meetings who work for family services when they have problems with the union, not with their union, but with the county not treating the union members right. Like I'm the most vocal guy in the world. I don't. I've got a big mouth, and I joke around with the county administrator because he's watched me for so many years. He said he thinks, I think when you become the mayor, within a month you're going to have a press conference to criticize yourself. And I said, you know what? That would be the worst thing in the world,
Yeah.
as long as I explain it. So I think that my track record as an elected official has always been I don't hide. I'm available. If there's a community meeting, I go to it. When there's a commissioner meeting, unlike, and it bothers me a little because I've gone to some council meetings and I watch people get up there and speak and they just go, next speaker, next speaker. When you come to a commissioner meeting, I'm engaged with you. I'm interacting with you. I want to try to identify how we can help you. How can we resolve? Because most people are not just coming there to say hello. How do we resolve and get engaged in trying to resolve whatever the issue is that you brought to us? Whether it's an issue with, a park or an agency in the government, or whether it's just an issue with your employment or the union that you might be in. So, look, 3 days a week, and I'm gonna have one day a week open office hours. It's going to be in the evening. It's probably going to be 6 to 9. I'm going to have myself and two or three of my staff people. We're probably not going to do it in the smaller mayor's office up in the hub, but we're going to do it in the chambers that are there, and that way you come in and we're able to deal with you and address your problems. Look, I give everybody my personal cell phone number. People tell me I'm crazy, and I could be a little bit, but I give everyone my personal cell phone number. I just ask you to text me instead of calling me, just because we get a lot of spam calls, right? We get a lot of people selling us stuff. And a lot of what I get, if I can get another person to deal with it, another staff person or another agency, then I get them involved. But I usually stay looped in. So if I text a message to the head of family services because somebody needs rental assistance, I stay on that text chain because I want to know what the progress is. And as mayor, I'm going to be on email chains and making sure that I stay on those email chains for things to get done. I think it's, just this week, I got very much engaged with the issue about what's going to happen with food stamps. No food stamps on November 1. And I was like, we can't wait till October 31st to talk about this
Yeah.
because because people are going to be, lining up. So I literally in 2 days, I didn't do it, but I raised the red flag, right? I sounded the alarm. The county, I want to put a task force together. I even raised it at the debate. The county put together a much more comprehensive plan. How do we deal with the pantries we have? How do we get those pantries additional food? And we started lobbying the state of New Jersey, pointing out their dollars they have that they might be able to put in to fund food stamps until we get the federal government straightened out again. So I just kind of think that I've always been proactive, not reactive. And I think when you're proactive, people are able to come to you. Some of the best ideas I've ever had were given to me by other people. Some of the best programs I've ever done and had done were the result of other people. And I'll give you an easy one because it's a simple one, but we have a growing population in Jersey City that plays cricket. And a young man came to me maybe 4 or 5 years ago and said, "Hey, there's no cricket pitches in Jersey City. Can you put one in Lincoln Park?" And inside, it took us maybe 6 months because you got to get the money, but we put one and it gets used all the time.
Yeah.
And you know who that young man was? Musab Ali.
Wow.
So I mean, but I think that's what it is to be a public servant, man. You got to be available and realize that people have great ideas. Not every idea works. A lot of ideas you've got to take it and then restructure it, right, or change it. But
Absolutely.
I love listening. I love listening to people's ideas, and sometimes, I'll give you another simple example, because it was obviously a group that Musab was working with in the Ali Institute with him and his sister. He would have me as kind of the judges of the programs that were proposed, and this hit me like a hammer on the head. There were a group of, I think they were all high school seniors. One might have been a college freshman from Jersey City, and they wanted to start a literacy program in the Hudson County Correctional Center. And what they said to me was, if you don't read, and I forget whether it was a fifth or sixth grade level, by the time you're 14 years old, there is a 5,000% greater chance you will wind up in jail.
Wow.
And that just hit me. I was like, whoa. So it took us a while. Things don't happen as quick as we want. But there's now been for over at least 2, if not 3 years, there's now a literacy program in the Hudson County Correctional Facility. I think they've had like maybe 7 or 8 groups of adults go through it. And now we've been working with them because Hudson County youth are housed at the Essex County detention center. That's one thing that bothers me. Maybe someone will listen and they'll change it. Maybe it's something you can help push. If you're an adult, you go to a correctional facility.
Hmm.
If you're a youth, you go to a detention facility. Right? If you're old, we're older. We're gonna give you correction. If you're young, we're just gonna detain you. So we've done a lot to create programs for our youth there, but now we want to create a literacy program at our juvenile center because I think it's important for our young people. And one of my running mates is Sandra Robinson Green. She runs a nonprofit that works with youth, gets youth that get themselves in trouble, that go to the youth facility and help them when they come out. So we want to create programs like that, or those are just examples of things where people came to us with a problem, and then we came up working together with a solution.
Well, that's funny you say all of that because this is kind of gonna lead into the next direction of the conversation. Uh, like we both agree on and said before, it's all about the youth. In today's times, it's sad to say, but a lot of certain college degrees are starting to lose value. It's sad.
Absolutely.
It's sad. People spend a lot of money, they work so hard, and they can't get jobs. It's a
Yep.
very selective amount of actual degrees that's gonna benefit you later in
Yep.
life, and so you already have to
College is
deal.
business, right? College has become big business now,
Yeah. So you already
right?
have to keep that in mind, and then there's a second part. We now have AI. AI is taking a majority of the jobs. Is there
Yep.
any type of a way we can put back skilled programs into the public school system? And if that's not possible, can we just build outside programs, trades programs for girls,
Yes.
teach them how to do hair?
Yes.
That's a cash business. It's they're always gonna have money. They will always be able to find something. Is there any possible way we can put that back into the
Yes.
schools?
And we have it. We have them. We just don't have them to the degree we want to, right? So Lincoln has a cosmetology
I seen you
program,
speak about
and
that.
County Prep has a
Yes,
cosmetology. Yeah.
I seen you speak
So
about that.
so we should expand those. And there's a woman who's got. I've seen her have 9, 10-year-old women braiding hair and doing hair. They did it at one of the events we had in the park, and I was happy to write a check to them because they literally often do it for free, and I want to just give them a little bit of encouragement. In fact, they did one in Lincoln Park, and they did one I think at PS 41 when we were doing the back to school program. So yes on that, yes on construction. Like I said, I started a program called Project Impact. I think we've gotten, you know, I think in overall over 300 people into unions, but I think in Jersey City
Wow.
close to 200 of them are locally. And so getting a program in high school for that, I think Dickinson High School has like a large area. So yes, I think we have to do that because you're right. A lot of the areas that you have college degrees in are people. There are no jobs there, and there are certainly no jobs in this area because, as you're saying, AI. We do CDL. I run a program at the EDC. I run a CDL program. I run a program for construction trades for the construction trades. I don't run one for cosmetology. But what I tell you, we do run, and we can do in our schools, and they do it at County Prep. They probably do it at one of the other schools, one of the public schools, is hospitality. Like that's a real opportunity. Like if you want to have a career in hospitality, the individuals that own Liberty House, they started out in Plainfield their own school
Mm.
for adults. But you can get, their employees are career employees, and they're making 80, 90, up to 100 grand a year working as staff, and they move up and they become managers. So we got to think about those areas where we know they're always going to have that. Um, what time they're going to have, or what opportunities are out there. And I think that we need to do that, and then we just have to look at other job opportunities. So, just over the bridge in Kearney, over the next 5 years, they're going to develop high high cube warehouses that are going to need 1,000 or 1,200, forklift drivers and things like that. So
Wow.
we've got to make sure that we prepare. Not everyone's meant to go to college, and
Yeah.
two, people going to college. because they're being told you got to go to college. And then at the end of the day, if you have a degree in an area that's not conducive to the job market, you're out. You're paying income. So yeah, that's it. That's really a no brainer.
Yeah. So another thing that seems consistent between all the mayoral candidates is street safety. I seen you all speak about
Yes.
it. So what they didn't make sense to me a little bit. It seemed like Jim McGreevy and I think Solomon, I could be wrong, were a lot more heavier focus on vehicles. So when we think about street safety in Jersey City, to me, there's blame to go around for everyone. And they all speak about task forces and getting the police to be more involved. How, how do you go about that plan with fairness and blame going around to everyone? Because when you look at certain situations, we have not only cars that are wrong, we have bicycles that are wrong, e-bikes that are wrong,
E
and
e-bikes.
the
Right.
actual
Right. Right.
pedestrians who don't care and cross the street on green and red. How do you do that without just targeting one person? Because if you just give the ticket to one person, the next is just going to keep doing the same thing, knowing that there's no consequence for them.
Well, right now nobody's getting a ticket, right? And I think that
Yeah,
the more people know that no one's going to get a ticket, the more the violations pile up, right?
absolutely.
So before we had the current public safety director, we had a traffic safety unit. The motorcycles are still in the building in Marion Gardens. Or we got a traffic safety, and that traffic safety is not just cars, although cars are the probably the biggest part of it. But we also need to enforce it on people that aren't properly riding with their e-bikes or their bicycles or whatever mode of transportation they may have. We also need to just educate people, right? There's not a lot of education on the issues, especially people that are not driving motor vehicles, as to what safety is, not riding against the flow of traffic. There's a lot of issues with that we just haven't done what we're supposed to do. And there are a lot of people that make a living delivering food,
Yes.
even though AI's got those robots now, right? They're
Yeah.
downtown, they're in Journal Square, coming soon to a neighborhood near you. But there's still a large number of individuals that are doing that. I call them commercial bike riders or e-bike riders. So they need to be registered, right? The way a driver of a vehicle is registered. They need to have an ID number. They need to wear an orange or bright colored jacket at night. They need to have a light on front of their bike or their e-bike, and we've got to know who they are. So they're not. One of the challenges with a police officer is if you don't know who the person on the bike is, you can confiscate the bike. But what else are you going to do to them? Even issuing the ability to issue them a summons becomes more challenging. So yeah, there's a lot that gets into it, but it starts with just a mindset. If you don't see that something is being enforced, right? Just like litter. If litter is allowed, then everybody just litters. Why wait till I get to the corner and put it in a trash receptacle? So I think that that's the same mentality we need to use. And then I think we need to change the state law and give cities, even if we just start with cities of the first class, which would be Jersey City and Newark, the right to have one red light cameras back. I had them on JFK Boulevard a few years ago before the state said you couldn't do them. And we used the revenue from it to do traffic patrol. So those areas became safer. And then two, we need speeding cameras. Let's start with pilots around schools. I've been always willing to let JFK Boulevard be the pilot for it, right? So come in from Bayonne. You got school on Gates, then you got a school on Wade, all on the boulevard. Then you got a Harry Moore School and Snyder. Then you go a little bit further down, you got Learning Community Charter School, and then you got St. Dominic's, and you got St. Pete, and then all the way up through the Heights with 27 School. So you got to be able to control that, because if you have a camera there and you speed, you're going to get a ticket automatically. The camera's going to, pick it up and you get a ticket. So yeah, it's a big issue. It's a big issue, and we got to look at it from a holistic perspective. But education's got to be a part of it too, right? Enforcement is important, but with enforcement comes proper education. I
So
got like 4 more minutes, if that's okay.
okay, okay. You're making my job a lot easier because you're literally setting up for my next question. So you do believe in more speed
There you go.
bumps, speed cameras, and that's
Yes,
something.
yes,
So
a
so
hundred, 1,000%, a
th-
1,000%. Speed. I got them on my block, and I have to back out of a carport, and thank God that there's a speed hump, probably
yeah,
30 or 40 feet east of my house, because I'm not sure how I'd be able to back out of the space if I had to deal with cars coming down a side street at 40, 45 miles an hour.
that's the problem I have, right? So I agree with some of it and disagree with some of it as well,
Okay.
because it seems that's also something consistent between you all. If there's money and plans to, if you say there's plans to do that and you all want to get it done, that means there's money somewhere. So if there's money somewhere to put speed bumps up, then why aren't the roads being fixed? Because what we're gonna see is speed bumps being put on top of destroyed roads. If any speed bump is put on a road in the Greenville section, the whole road needs to be fixed before you do that. Because if we
Yeah,
want to talk
rehab the
about
road.
street
Yeah, look,
safety, yeah, if
I,
we want to talk about street
I
safety,
agree.
how many
I agree.
accidents happened also because the road is messed up? Somebody stops, they don't want to get their tire messed up, they get hit from the back.
Yep,
That's the
yep,
problem I have with
yep,
that.
yep. That happens too. Yep. So I agree with you. I think that when you're going to put speed humps on a street, look at where that street is in the inventory of getting repaved. And if that street's going to be repaved in the next 2 years, then move the repaving up and do it along with the street, right? The PSE&G or the water company ripping up a street. Well, if I put a speed hump and then a year later I got to tear the street up and take the street hump out, yeah, I'm as at fault as is the individual who from the utility company that's doing the same thing.
All right.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
We got, yes, programs got to work together.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time. I know you got to go. I really appreciate it. And I wish you
No,
good
I
luck.
appreciate it. It was very good. They
Yeah.
told. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm laughing because they told me it was going to be a 15-minute interview, and I think we did almost an hour.
Oh no,
That's a good thing, though,
I told
right?
them an
That's a
hour,
good thing.
15 minutes. I told them an hour.
Oh, good. Well, it's good. It turned out to be a good hour. It turned out to be a good
Yeah.
hour. It was a good hour. It was a good conversation. And I appreciate you. And I'm gonna give Danielle the contact people from the head of the housing authority and the from Win. The guy who's the VP for Win, he was actually an intern with me at the Elizabeth Development Company when he
Oh
was in
wow.
college. So I have faith in him, and and that they do the right thing. But I would love for you, I don't need to be involved. I'm just going to give you the context. I want to get them to talk to you, to get your thoughts, to make sure that the Holland Gardens project is done the right way, doesn't result in people losing their rights to come back, encourages them, but also make sure that it creates opportunities when people come back and when new individuals come there, that they're local, that the lottery is done the right way, done in a fair way. I think you'll find out they have a lot of community meetings there to keep the community informed of it. But I would love for you to get engaged with those guys.
Yes, please send me that information over. I would really appreciate it.
I'm going to send it over to Danielle later tonight. All right.
Thank
It
you.
was great, great, great talking to you. I enjoyed the conversation. And my number is 201 332 1187. Feel free to stay in touch or let me know if there's anything I can be of help with.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one.